Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of the Great Futures Forge. We have an alumni spotlight today, and we're fortunate enough to sit with a gentleman by the name of Ade'Kamil Kelly. Ade, tell us a little more about yourself.
I'm a former club alum here at the Central Ward unit. I started. Wait, you want me to get right into it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to jump into my questions, then go right ahead.
I'll just say I'm also a site coordinator here at the Boys and Girls Club. I've been affiliated with the Boys and Girls Club since I was about 13 years old.
So you were 13 years old when you started the Boys and Girls Club?
I was 12 years old when I started Life Camp, which was still affiliated with the Boys and Girls Club.
Still is.
It is.
We still love Life Camp. Let's not do that on camera.
No, officially. After that, my sister said I needed to work, or I wanted to work, or something like that, and I had to volunteer. So one of the staff members was related to her husband and got me plugged in. So I volunteered the whole summer in the computer lab, and then I started the program that following fall.
Got it. So which sister was that? Because I know I went to school with one of your sisters.
Yeah, it's my oldest sister.
The oldest sister. Okay, so the one I knew. We're going to put her name out there today. Maybe we'll bring her on to talk about what she does. But why did you start coming to the club beyond your sister recommending it? Like, what drew you to the club? What made you keep coming back?
So I think that first year of me being in the club, I think I was like a freshman or a sophomore. I started off coming because I was forced. But after that, I took my hiatus from the club, realized I missed so much. I think I missed like Keystone trip, college tour. I'm like, oh, it's lit here. So
it's lit here.
After that, I became immersed in everything that we do. So I was in the photography program, computer lab all the time, DJing, Keystone Club, basketball, swimming. I just said I'll never miss another trip.
Basically everything that we have almost. So you talk about all those different programs, and I think everybody knows I was a club member as well. I was super in love with swimming. What was your favorite program to participate in?
I would say, I think chess club.
Chess club.
He was our team coordinator at the time, so we really got competitive when it came to chess. We used to come in after school every day, and it's like people from Newark are excited about chess. Like, that's not the story that we hear all the time. So coming in, smoking some of my friends, losing some close ones. I think I'm like 3-64 with you.
Probably like 3-200. Let's be real. I used to clobber them. I haven't played chess in a long time, but I remember those good victories and some of my 2-move victories. So I know I'm sitting here, and I know I'm your absolute favorite staff ever of all time. But let's not say me, because that's too easy. You can talk about me later on. But if you weren't going to say me, if it's not me, who's your favorite staff person here? Who did you really enjoy spending time with, doing programs with at the Boys and Girls Club?
I think for me, I can say that summer I spent with Mr. Pat in the computer lab. He really welcomed me in, and I was like a part of the tech team that entire summer. So from there, that relationship allowed me the necessary comfort to say, let me try it out in the fall and see what it's going to be. And that was like the first relationship that I had, and then slowly building relationships with all the other staff before I got to you. So.
Right. Then you got to the top of the food chain. But I think staff people at the club are very interesting people. They have interesting stories. They are obviously professionals in things that they do. What do you think makes that staff experience good for young people at the club? Like, what do club staff really have that make you feel welcome?
I think the diversity of the staff and everyone at that time having a niche and really owning it, and you just walk into anybody's room and they're passionate about what they do. So when I was in photography, we even did when you dip it in water.
The dark room photography.
That was fire to me.
Mr. M.
We had he was so into it, and I still have some of the pictures. then. So when you have staff who are passionate about what they're teaching the members, you feel that passion and you feel closer to the club, and you just want to keep coming to do it over and over again.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that because I mean I remember Mr. Manson Musa, I used to call him Mr. M. You know, we had a dark room, photography room. We had the solution, and the room had to be dark, and there was a light outside, and you had to dip that photograph in there. And I myself was recommended by my unit director at the time, Felix Rouse. He said, "Look, man, just try it." I'm like, "I don't want to take pictures. Like, it's not interesting." And then I happened to become a finalist in one of our photography programs nationally, and I just really enjoyed the experience and learning. And Mr. M was super passionate, as you mentioned. So I want to ask this question because I think we talk about it as staff members, as people inside of our organization. Obviously, we want to uplift it and talk about how good it is compared to other things. But what would you say sets Boys and Girls Clubs apart, Boys and Girls Club in Newark, apart from other after-school programs, community centers, etc.?
I think I said this when I was youth of the year. It's really a second home. It's really a home away from home. And everything about the experience cultivates that second home feeling. So you have staff that really care about you, that are clocking your development from the time that they first meet you all the way through high school. It's really important that it was really important for me where I was in my development because at that time, between 8th and 10th grade is always two ways you can navigate in the city of Newark. And it just kept me here. So I was here till 9 o'clock every day.
Right.
Even when I had to leave here at 9 o'clock, catch a bus to Elizabeth, get there by 11 o'clock, and then do it all over again. So it was that place where I just wanted to be, and it was through the staff caring about me every step of the way and just welcoming me. So I remember Mr. Jimmy, they used to call him my dad. Staff taught us how to drive. They taught us how to play all the games. So it wasn't just an investment as a member, it was an investment as a child, as someone who was developing. So those things, all of those elements made it feel like home. So you never wanted to leave because you literally had everything, TV, games, basketball, swimming. You have every component that you need to feel fulfilled for it to feel like a home. And then you have the staff who are working as second, third, fourth parents for some of our members, sometimes even first, to make sure you're gonna be great.
Right. So you said something that was really interesting, and we got the same haircut now. I'm just gonna put him on blast. This is Ben's haircut since he was 16 years old.
I had a little bit of time.
But I started losing mine in my 20s. I'm a little older. But you said something interesting that a lot of people talk about, not just Newark, but in communities like Chicago, Brooklyn, Detroit, down in the rough parts of Atlanta, those two ways that kids can go. And let's get into that. Did you see that or those kinds of decisions being made by kids here when you were at the club?
Yeah, but what I also saw is that some of those kids from 3 to 9 o'clock had a place where they could just be. They didn't have to necessarily worry about the outside elements, even though they were going back into it. But for that block of hours, they can just come here, play basketball, get on the computer, and then go about their day. I think after the club is when you started to see the impact of lifing, and we lose a lot of members each year, former club members, just by the elements. But while they're here, I think it's like a safe passageway between when they start at 6 to the time they're 18. They get that time to really have a childhood. When they leave here, the elements are the elements. I'll never forget. I think I was a freshman in high school. This was in that period where I wasn't coming to the club, but I was coming to the club. It was yo, you want to join the gang? See me at the school. I'm like, interesting. I don't think I want to do that. I just want to play basketball.
Good choice.
But our former members were faced with that. Some of them just grew into it. So as long as we had a basketball program, as long as we had games in the teen center, in the games room, they were able to just be here and be kids. Right,
yeah. So I think what you're saying is the club offers kids an opportunity, even in an environment where there are external factors. And we're talking about gangs, drugs, violence, kids getting involved in criminal activity, whether in gangs or not. where they can make poor choices. And I just want to go a little bit deeper into this topic because I think, right, the club is there from 3 to 9 o'clock at the time when you were around. We close a little earlier now, and we open on Saturdays, and we talked about the Keystone Club and field trips and all those things. How did you, after the age of 18, continue to make the right choices to avoid those things, and what are the factors you think are influencing others not to make those decisions that have helped you stay outside of those activities?
I think for me, some of it is family structure too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I have a good enough support system between my grandmother, my sister, and the rest of my siblings, who were going to make sure that I didn't fall into those elements, but also I never lost connection from the staff here, who poured into me, and I was able to build relationships with board members, with different partners along the way, who no, you're gonna stay on this path. You're gonna stay on this path, and sometimes the personality might not be there for other members that I have, which is a little bit bigger, and I like to talk and just be out and things like that, where they don't get those opportunities, but it still exists within the club that they can run into the owner of the Jets, where they can build a relationship with the owner of the Giants. We all have those same elements. It's just outside be real loud.
Yeah. No, I totally understand what you mean. So you were able to avoid those things. You're a little older now, haircut included. But what are you doing professionally? What have you done professionally? Where's your life taking you, and where are you now, and what are you looking forward to?
I think professionally, I've done a little bit of everything. I spent some time working in corporate with one of our board members, just learning under his tutelage. I've done sales, I've done retail, and now after working politics between, I want to say 2018 and 2022, I came back to the Boys and Girls Club because I realized my passion is still helping children. I remember a conversation that we had when I was like 17, 18.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? I want to help people. Like, how?
Right.
I didn't know then how it looked like, but as I was given room and space to develop, I knew some of that how. I want to help kids advocate for themselves. I want to be the adult that I got when I was a teen.
Right.
So that is ultimately what brought me back, building relationships with families, building relationships with children to help cultivate the next generation.
Nice. And so I'll say it now, you put it out there, you're a site coordinator. You run our Thrive Bowl location. And so what's different about being a staff member than it is being a member of the Boys and Girls Club?
I mean, you're responsible for everything. Simply put, you're responsible for everything. But I think my experience as a club member, as a former Boys and Girls Club member, allows me a certain perspective as someone who is just coming into the role. I know what it's like to need the Boys and Girls Club. And we have a lot of members and a lot of families who need the program. And I'm able to navigate making sure our program and the community stuff that they need as well is set in place where they are able to get not my experience but a similar or close enough experience where they can be great.
So yeah, I think that's an interesting thing you bring up because sometimes you have staff members who come in and they get it and they understand it, and you have those who struggle. So why do you think they struggle with the lack of that Boys and Girls Club experience versus somebody like you who's had it and can seemingly connect the dots?
Sometimes it's just a matter of connection. It's kind of like that gentrification conversation. Not that people coming into the role are gentrifiers, but when you grow, sometimes the people who come in don't have that connection to what they're necessarily replacing or what they're integrating into, and they don't have that full historical context of where things were and where they're going. And what I'm able to do successfully at my site is depict that story of the club was this way when I was a kid, struggling. Now we're through that storm, and where we are now, we're trying to be intentional about how we respond to the trauma of our members. We're being intentional about how we program and the programs that we curate for each member, making sure their input is instilled in all that we do, making sure we have a competent staff who is at work to care for our members. So I think with all of those elements, at my site, they're getting the historical context of what it looks like for somebody to go through the program. I don't have the 6 to 18 or 5 to 18 like you, but 13 to 18, this is what it can
Everybody
be.
can't be washed.
But this is what it can be. This is what the Boys and Girls Club look like,
Right.
or could look like for your family.
So I know that you mentioned some of the past struggles of the organization. I think all nonprofits, have struggled with money and turnover and staff and leadership. But, we've come out of that. But we're not the biggest nonprofit or anything to that effect. But if you have all the resources, all the people, all the money, all the partnerships, the collaborators, what would you do at your site, at Boys and Girls Club, to really affect change and impact the community?
I think several elements that I would love to incorporate. I think especially at my site, we have a lot of artistic kids. So a fine arts program where they're able to learn the elements of drawing, painting, and also I have some actors at my site too.
Yeah.
So taking that dramatic energy, but making it into cinema, but also a more robust sports program. I think traditionally we've been known for basketball.
Right.
So finding a way to bring it back to where, if it's other organizations throughout the city doing basketball, it's a joint league where we can play at this gym, we can go across North Ward, South Ward, East Ward, and just connect with some of those community partners as well.
Awesome. So I know that you're part of the Alumni Association.
Yeah, I'm the vice president.
Vice president, okay. Did I know that?
I think you
I
did.
think I knew that. I don't give you too many kudos. But what are you guys doing with that? What's the point of the Alumni Association?
The point, in short, is to bring the band back together. I think we have so many people who were impacted by the Boys and Girls Club of Newark. When we had more brick and mortar clubhouses, whether they went to the after school programs at the different schools that we operated out of, it's bringing everyone together. One, to catch everybody up to where the club is now, and then how we can work together to continue to impact the place that impacted us. We're coming off a basketball classic, in which the turnout was one of the highest that we've had for an alumni event since I've come back into the fold, and it was great to see everyone back together, dapping each other up, people who moved away, came back, but it's those elements of everybody saying yeah, we got to do this again.
Right.
That nostalgia, but also reality that we all getting old.
Yeah.
We're getting old and we're missing some folks, but the more opportunities that we have to be together, that community that we grew up on can get stronger, and then we can integrate that into some of the elements of what we do every day.
Fantastic. And I know that we're getting old means that the knees aren't the same, the jump shot's not as good as it used to be.
Not running as fast.
Not running as fast. I told you, when you're older than people and you're starting to kind of go through your trials and tribulations as a young adult in your 30s, and you got these guys around you, they have jokes, they talk about you, and then you start to see them expand, and you go, hey, don't catch up too fast. So I didn't get a chance to come to the game. I was disappointed, but I had my daughters here, and they were causing my wife trouble. She's a club alumni association member as well. So what impact do you see the Alumni Association having on the Boys and Girls Club in Newark and the kids today?
I think one of the things that we want to be intentional about is raising money and awareness to some of the programs and things that are going on in the club. I think we all came through the team program, so that's obviously one of our priority programs that we want to focus on and build, and find opportunities to collaborate with the Keystone Club, with the Teen Center in general, and just fill in the needs that they may have along the way. I think our big goal is to eventually have a scholarship fund for the teens who are going off to college. So just figuring out ways to develop that. So we definitely want to be intentional about, how we are raising money and awareness to what's going on in the club.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah. Intentionality. It's one of those buzzwords of the modern day. Everybody uses it all the time. And I want to talk about some intentionality of this young man here. You ran for school board at the end of the year last year.
I did.
How'd that turn out for you?
I lost.
He lost. And I've been riding him because he put staff of the Boys and Girls of Newark. I said, don't do that, losing the school board. But no, so you ran for school board. Why?
I think twofold. When I was 19 years old, I realized that we were having all of these conversations at that time. It was about getting back local control, and there was adults, but it was not enough young people or young enough people in those conversations. So at 19, I said, I'm going to be a part of the conversation. I'm going to find whatever group is talking about education throughout the city of Newark. And from there, I built relationships around education reform and education awareness and just that aspect. So years later, my love for developing kids and caring about education and public education didn't disappear. And then I finally felt like it was time for me to just shoot my shot, because I believe, and my slogan at the time was, we deserve better. Because we do. We deserve non-traditional methods after the traditional methods have continued to fail us. So in those conversations, I'm like, let me just do it. Obviously, I talked to you along the way.
Yeah.
You kind of helped push me where you said, just do it.
Just do it.
So I did it, and it was a great experience. Along the way, I got to meet and talk to some great people. I just love the campaigning aspect. I was on every year. There's a youth-led, what do you call it? Like, not a debate, but I'm losing the word.
What, forum?
Yeah, a youth-led forum, and to hear the young people ask intentional questions about policy beliefs and how it affects them. That's why I did it. Ultimately.
Everybody likes to win, right? I think there's always a loser on the side of a political battle. And so what did you learn losing your campaign for the school board about the process, and what would you do differently?
I think I learned humility. So losing felt so good. It felt so good because you never know how many votes you're going to garner. You can know, but you don't really know until the day of. So I knew I had one vote, which is mine. But to have about 300, 400 other votes let me know that just name alone, those who heard the message, it resonated somewhere along the way. So that aspect of humility and not hanging my head down in defeat was really important. And I'm just like, yeah, let's go. If I would have won, that would have been great. But in losing, you really get an opportunity to peel back the layers and say, obviously, there's a lot more to do. There's a lot more work to do. So what I would have done differently is gotten started a little bit sooner and just beat the pavement. At the end of the day, I think my ability to build relationships with folks and just listen is second to none. Yeah. So I would do a lot more of that.
Awesome. We don't care here, Boys and Girls Club, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, as long as you're a good person. But being a politician is a process. It's about engaging people. You ran for school board, you lost. You're here working with young people. Do you still have political aspirations?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, those who oversee policy affect the kids that I'm working with every day. And I want to be in the room or in position to directly impact the members that I've been caring for since I was 18 years old.
Yeah. So if you had to choose the capstone of your political career, is that mayor, governor, congressman, senator, president of the United States? That's a big deal this year. He said it out. He doesn't want it. Neither does Michelle Obama.
I think for me, I care so much about this city. So I think in speaking now, the 28-year-old version of me, I would say I would love to be in position to serve the city of Newark. I love the state of New Jersey, but I think historically Newark is just one of the richest cities in terms of history, and I care so deeply about it. I'm so Newark. There's nothing that you know somebody from Newark.
Yeah.
When y'all outside of Newark, and I just love that about Newarkers. So I would love to be able to serve the city as mayor one day.
As mayor of the city. So we got a mayor right now.
We do.
And we recently lost Congressman Donald Payne Jr., bless his soul. His dad was actually at my State Youth of the Year dinner when I was State Youth of the Year back in 99, 2000. There's a date. 99, 2000.
I was like, the
greatest last year of the greatest decade of mankind, and the first year of the second best decade of mankind, as far as I'm concerned. But I think Congressman Payne Sr. obviously was very involved with young people. His son continued his work here in Newark and on the Hill. What do you think, or who do you think, what kind of person needs to replace Congressman Donald Payne Jr.?
It's big shoes to fill because that seat for 2 generations, father and son, the impact that they've had on the city of Newark, and then when they went off into Congress, continuing to represent the city. So I think the type of person that seat needs is someone who understands that history, understands that legacy, and wants to continue to bring back the necessary funding that we need as a city, that we need as a district, when it comes to transportation, when it comes to child care. Those are big things, big needs that we have in the city when it comes to like federal and obviously infrastructure. When you look at the train project that's been derailed and hopefully coming into fruition.
Hopefully.
So just someone who is, not that it's a Newark seat, because CD10 has some Hudson County,
but
it's a Newark seat. So someone who continues the legacy to represent Newark in a way that generations are impacted and are continuing to be impacted as those 2 giants have done.
Absolutely.
Well.
No, I think you're right. I think it's not to say that someone else from outside of Newark couldn't win that seat, but Newark's the biggest city in the state. It's becoming a massive urban metropolis. It's attracting more people to the city, tons of investment. And you talked about being mayor. We were fortunate enough to have First Lady Barack on as our first guest. So our current mayor is running for governor. And so he may potentially win that seat and serve the city from the state seat and the rest of the state. You may choose to throw your hat in and take another run at it, and maybe you have to take a Cory Booker loss and then come back. But Baraka has done a great job on many accounts, and this is a largely Democratic city. He's a Democrat, but no mayor, no political figure has 100% support. So what kind of person would need to fill his shoes in the event that he does become governor, or at the point where he leaves and chooses to no longer serve in that capacity? What does a mayor of Newark have to be for this city to continue to become what it should be within our great United States?
I think one of the great things that Mayor Baraka understands is that historical context in Newark. So as far as he's pushing it along, he doesn't let go of the history and the story of Newark. I think he does a great job of, as we are building buildings in downtown, we're also honoring, our arts legends, our historical legends. So understanding that context and outdoing what gentrification looks like, I think is really important. Because when gentrification happens, it erases the story that came before.
Yeah.
So someone who's able to keep that story of Newark alive and ingrained into everything that we do, and also caring about continuing to fight the unhoused residents that we have in the city of Newark.
Huge problem.
Yeah. Every day, you're going to walk past somebody in a tent, in a blanket, and that's throughout the entire year.
Yeah.
So having a passion about that, working towards eliminating that, getting that as close to 0% as possible. Sometimes it's not likely, but it's a tall task. that I think should be cared about. And then someone who supports quality education. We've seen the statistics on third graders in the city of Newark. Everyone should be troubled with that. So someone who cares about curating elements around education, like programs that we have and other programs and community partners, and getting them all in a room and saying, let's fix this together with our school board. Those are the elements, and those are the type of person. That's the type of person that we need in that seat, given if the mayor is successful in his government.
Yeah. I think you brought up a good point, because of what we've seen in LA and San Francisco, and recently that I noticed in Portland, these tent cities. I think you mentioned Newark does definitely have a homeless problem, with a lot of people, particularly down in Penn Station. But how do you think we've avoided getting to the points that we've seen in other places, and how do we make sure that doesn't happen?
I think there was a big hype about it, and we have good people in the streets. We have Newarkers in the street.
Right.
And sometimes those big cities don't necessarily have their own people advocating from the streets. You have people who are flowing in and coming, and there's a pride about Newark that won't allow the city to totally just get wretched. So our people on the street, whether they agree with the mayor or the administration or not, I think they are intentional about tackling these issues, and because they raise awareness to it, it gets to the highest desk, and we're able to prioritize that. And homelessness over the last 8 years have been a top priority to those who are out there on the streets, on the ground, seeing it, feeding the folks, which is why I think it helped make it a huge initiative that the mayor was able to make it. So those people on the streets from Newark continue to push the city where we need to be and shine the light on the issues that we need.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point. I think oftentimes people look at political figures, the president of the United States, the governor, the mayor, as the sole individual responsible for what happens to people in the community. And obviously they have a huge responsibility being the executive in that town and state in our country. But it's really about us, right? It's about what everyday people do with their families, with their friends, seeing other people. And I think it's a big conversation across our entire political infrastructure about how we care for one another. So healthcare being at the top, and education is always going to be at the top of the line. Borders, open borders, closed borders, right? Those kinds of conversations. And so one question I want to ask before I move to that deeper conversation, because we know it's not too long from now, the days keep going by. What problem, single individual item in the city of Newark, if you could fix it with the snap of your fingers, Thanos glove, Infinity Gauntlet, would you do right now, today?
I think for me, youth crimes, so violent crimes, the auto theft, because what we have, and it's been exacerbated since the pandemic, and it's just gotten worse and worse. We have youth with not too many options, so they've been outside for like 4 years.
Yeah.
So they're only getting worse, and I think that is, when we don't focus on them, they only get worse and worse, and that number of deaths increase, that number of just chaos, it grows and grows and grows. So youth crimes would be a focus, so creating programs and initiatives centered around getting youth activities. I was out yesterday, and someone was saying to me that, the youth don't have enough options. When we were growing up, even like as I described my clubhouse experience, we had all of these things that we had access to. And it wasn't just like this club, you can go to the West Side Club, you can go to the Broadway Club, way back you can go to the South Fork Club, like giving youth more outlets to do podcasts, to do like rap. I remember, I think the West Side had a recording studio.
Yes.
Each club had pool, gym, games room. So allowing kids to be kids again and giving them the resources that they are into, I think is really important.
So you're saying building more facilities like this, where kids, because right, this is different from say an outdoor swimming pool or a park, right? It's contained, it's safe. There are people here that work here, so I think you're talking about investing in more brick and mortar community centers that kids can go to and have a place to be. I think Newark has a lot of them, but not nearly enough. And I think when we look at the statistics, even across the state, there are just not enough after-school program engagement activities for every kid. And now in the modern era, with a lot of technology, kids are sitting at home when they're not here, on their phones. They're becoming more depressed, anxious, etc. But I think another thing that plays into that is our political climate. And I want to talk about it because I think, we had COVID, we had the incident with George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and others, and the almost in our own way kind of a new civil rights era in a sense, where you had different people coming together, rallying around different topics, and a lot of topics have come up, from diversity, equity, and inclusion, LGBTQIA, socialism versus capitalism, and all those things. Those are new conversations, but all of these seem to kind of coalesce at the same time during the pandemic, from 2020 to 2022. So we have an election on November 5th, 2024. We have an incumbent in Joe Biden. We have a front runner on the Republican side who is currently facing some charges in a trial in New York City. From your perspective, your opinion, who should win? Who do you want to win? And if the other person happens to win, what do you see changing in our country?
I think this is one of the most depressing elections that I've ever experienced in my life.
Tell me why. I got to know why.
There's no enthusiasm about either option. And I think this might be twofold. This might be either one of the highest turnouts or one of the lowest turnouts in recent times for a president election. I think you have all that comes with Trump right now.
Okay.
That just makes it feel illegitimate. Like, I mean, we have someone running for president with being charged across 5 or 6 states, former president. So what does that say about someone running for president? And then the challenges of Biden. I think as decent as he's done, some of the promises that he made, they haven't come through. So I think blindly picking, I don't think too much will change. I think socially, globally, the world is where it would have been still if Trump had been president 4 years ago versus now. But there was some student debt relief.
I'm still waiting to try to get mine through. We got to fix those programs so that the timelines are spent faster.
There's still conversations about how do we make healthcare more affordable.
Big topic.
Groceries and everything, the everyday necessities have gone up and have impacted the everyday person. So our dollar doesn't stretch the way it used to stretch.
Huge inflation issue right now, just from the cost of goods.
And then he also dealt with, the issue with the ports and trades getting blocked and stopped up. So I think ultimately we'll be in the same condition that we are today. I think,
regardless of who's in the White House.
I think with the Trump presidency, what he did last time was he spotlighted the need for us to also focus on local elections.
Mm-hmm.
So the gift and the curse of Trump is that you had more people involved in local politics. I think the cause and effect of his election was a higher turnout afterwards, where Biden, you kind of just understand, it's a Democrat, so we don't have to turn out, but we don't have to turn out. So, but I think we are in a season of voter apathy like I've never felt before, and it trickled down locally. Like our past school board race, we saw a 2.8% turnout in a city of almost 300,000 people. Yeah. So it's depressing, and that's what I mean by depressing. It starts high at the president election, and then it trickled all the way down into the local elections. And so I don't trust that turnout will be great.
Mm-hmm.
either which way. And I think we navigated 4 years of Biden. We navigated 4 years of Trump. And I think as a country, we always come out decently.
So what you're saying, in a sense, is that the United States of America's founding fathers, despite some of the ugly things about our history, put in a structure that is strong enough to withstand what we saw January 6th, with the fear of, if Trump gets back in, he'll become a dictator or whatever the case might be, that the local apparatuses, state control, the Congress, the Senate, upper house, is so strong, the judicial system is so strong in general, right? There are problems in all facets of government. There are always things we can improve. But you're saying the way the country works, that presidency or who sits there isn't going to completely upend what's been built here.
Yeah, because when Trump first got elected, they said he was going to be a dictator. But that didn't happen.
Right.
I mean, even with January 6th and the chaos of that, we still ushered in a new president. They didn't really disrupt anything as far as what we do as a country. The processes that happen still happen, and we had Joe Biden as president.
So those underpinning ideals of even though January 6th happened, a peaceful transition of power to vice president supporting the process, you think those kinds of levers?
I think fundamentally there's an element of what we believe as a country, as a society, that January 6th had to happen, because that's also what we have a right to rebel against what we believe and what we disagree with. Did they peacefully do it? No. I think we can disagree with that, but at the end of the day, while it wasn't as violent when Obama was, when he transitioned into him, it was that fear that something like that would happen.
Right. People talked about the assassination if he got out of the beast and walked down Pennsylvania Avenue. So I think, right, so the United States isn't immune to challenges, right? Even though for a long time we've been at the forefront of the international stage, we are called the leader of the free world, our presidents have been, and that position seems to be somewhat in flux at this moment in time. You still believe that the country is still strong and will continue to be at the forefront of national politics.
Nothing about America would change. Not too radical.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, over time we've gotten better. Obviously, when we look at civil rights, that has changed over the last 50 years. It's funny because I always think, just context, my great-grandmother was born in 1926 in South Carolina, and she grew up picking cotton.
Right.
Like, we're talking about in the 20s and 30s. Like,
you talked about that topic before.
Like, that's crazy when you conceptualize that only about 100 years ago, someone was picking cotton still. Right. We're talking about the early 1900s. So
somebody's still picking cotton today, just probably not by hand. But I think it's an interesting topic, because I always talk with people about how, because we often, as Black people, African Americans, we associate picking cotton with slavery, and it's a job that most of us generally wouldn't be attracted to. But in the truest sense, there's not a problem with picking cotton. I think I probably got on the cotton polyester foot, right? But it was the fact that it was associated with probably one of the ugliest parts of our history. And so I think it's a great kind of thing to think about and think through. But you're right, like a lot of the things that we had challenges with in our society in a really huge way, civil rights movement, slavery, et cetera, Jim Crow, all that's not so long ago. And I think sometimes in our conversations, we forget that some people are still very close to those experiences, right? Somebody born in 1926 might not be around, but there may be one or two people still around. There are people still around in civil rights. And so I think that's the difficulty from one generation to the next. And we have the comfort of being able to talk to anybody in the world, right? We can see almost everything, and that has its downsides as well. So I want to thank you for talking about a very interesting and deep topic. Again, what I'll say from my perspective, Boys and Girls Club in Newark is here to stoke the fire and the ideas that young people have, whether they choose to be Republican, Democrat, socialist, capitalist, whatever they want to do. We think our job is to be a platform for that. And not tell them what to do. So we're 100% apolitical, because what I heard from you is not typical of a lot of people in our community, where it's like completely against Trump, completely for Biden, or when you talk to other people, it's the other way around. So I I commend you for looking at the political environment very objectively, not subjectively.
I think, but that's I think that's what the club helped me get to in defining how I identify, I guess, politically through conversations that we have, but also through programs. I think we were exposed to a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
From like, I just think about meeting the Jets owner, knowing where he swings.
Yeah.
But also, I like Chris Christie came in before Cory Booker come. Like, so being exposed to all of these people and having conversations and developing your own ideas is really hard because, like, when you live in a deep blue or a deep red town, county, city, whatever the case may be, you're conditioned in a way.
Right. So
it's hard to break norm and say, actually, I believe this about guns and I believe this about that.
Right.
I always think what captures how I was able to develop a mind of my own from the Boys and Girls Club was a few years ago. I think after one of the mass shootings in Orlando, I was a part of a focus group that got together in D.C. We were called the Gun Group 20 or 21. It was 21 of us from all over the country. We met up in D.C. and had a genuine conversation about guns in America. And from there, you see the extremity on both sides. Mm-hmm. Some people who I never want to see a gun in my life, and I got 14 of these things in my closet right now. And then in that setting, really learning that I'm somewhere where I can see both sides and I can be that bridge and say, you know, I hear what you're saying, I hear what you're saying. You both are saying safety. Mm-hmm. And how do we keep the focus on safety and then build out from there? Yeah. So, you know, this place has allowed me to develop a lot of ideologies. That's
awesome. So, we always have to do a fun section because we talk about some really deep stuff and, you know, personal things to individuals. And politics is always a sticky subject, so I thank you for allowing me to take that path down there. The next school board election or mayoral election you run, and you say you're a staff member, so better win. But what's your favorite food?
My favorite food is fried chicken.
Fried chicken. Favorite television show?
Favorite television show?
Netflix, streaming, Amazon Prime, whatever, you know.
I'm just going to go with what's off the top of my head. House of Cards.
Okay.
Up to season 5.
Up to season... Oh! Shots fired at the last season. Wow.
We're not going
to get too deep into that. Favorite guilty snack?
Favorite guilty snack? Double stuffed Oreos.
Double stuffed Oreos.
Golden.
What? Yeah. Wait a minute. That's like sacrilege almost, in my opinion. I'm a classic Oreo guy. I love Oreos.
I don't like chocolate like that.
Oreos isn't like it's. I know it's a chocolate thing, but that Oreo flavor is like.
But I like cookies and cream ice cream. So,
Jesus Christ, what is this guy? Who is this guy? Golden double stuffed Oreo. Want to be married?
Yes.
Children?
Yes.
How many?
I'm getting old now.
I
think I never went down.
Don't wait too long. Trust me.
I would say like 3.
3.
When I was like 7, I used to tell my grandmother, "Yeah, I'm gonna have like 21 kids."
Everybody wants a lot of kids until they have one.
Right.
And then they have the second one. They go, "Oh, this is probably enough."
But I'm a super uncle, so
true.
I think that pushed my timeline back and back.
Don't wait too long. I'll tell you.
I'm a super uncle, and I've worked with kids since I was like 14. So
yeah.
I was never in any rush.
If you could go on one vacation and only one vacation for all your life, where would it be?
That's a good question. I would probably say, if not something Caribbean, I really like the culture of New Orleans. And I got a chance to go there, I think last month, and it's just a beautiful city. Where we stayed was actually the Ninth Ward, which was hit the hardest by Katrina, and you can just see the endless possibilities if and when they decide to pour back into that community.
Yeah.
So
don't start new topics here because then we'll get into water and flood, and we'll get into that. You know.
But New Orleans, I love that city. It's beautiful.
What's something most people don't know about you that you'd be able to share with us today?
I don't know. I put my life out there.
Put his life out there. He's an open book, people. He's running for school board one day again.
Yes. Maybe in the near future.
We will not support your campaign. I just want to put that out there.
You personally?
Personally, maybe. I'll think about it. You know, I get behind winners.
Everyone's a winner from the Boys and Girls.
That's true. That's true. But now that you're no longer a member, we need to hold you to the new standards of life, which is if I support your campaign, I want my dollars going to Victory Dollars. So anything else you want to share before we wrap it up today?
No, I appreciate the time. Obviously, I love the Boys and Girls Club of Newark and have for some years.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just want to shout you out. I'm proud of you and the job.
Thank you.
You've been
I
doing
appreciate
since
that.
You've taken the helm. Done a great job.
Thank
I'm
you.
a proud mentee. And it's an honor and a privilege to also work under you. Too.
Pleasure. Thank you. Got a couple hours, then you got to get to work. Get back on the clock for real. But I want to thank everybody for joining us for the second episode of the Great Futures Forge. Our very first alumni spotlight, Ade'Kamil Kelly.
Yes.
There's some people out there that I know aren't going to be happy about this, but that's the way the cookie crumbles, even the golden Oreo. Have a great one.